travel.
BBC Radio Bristol.
And over to John for the travel news.
Thanks, Martin. Queues on the M5 and the M4 coming into Bristol as the rush builds. The M32 is getting quite busy as well. Other than that, everything's running okay on the buses and everything's taking off and landing right at Bristol Airport. If you're seeing anything on the roads we're not talking about, do give us a call on the travel line. It's 0845 906 949.
Loving life in the West.
BBC Radio Bristol.
You're listening to Martin Roberts here on Radio Bristol.
You've done it all.
Still one of my favourite songs of all time. Steve Harley. Make Me Smile, Come Up and See Me, with brackets as well. Welcome to the brand new Martin Roberts show here on Radio Bristol. A packed programme for you today, all sorts of interesting stuff. We'll be telling you exactly what's happening up and around the area if you're looking for things to do this weekend. And some really wacky stuff if you're interested. I'll be finding out the role of the school governor. It's one of those things that you hear about. And in fact, my wife has just taken on the role of one. So I think she should be listening in. We'll also be listening about the latest amateur dramatics productions. If it's something you fancy having a go at, if you see yourself on the stage. What's it actually like? Is it like those plays and those TV shows you might have seen behind the scenes? Is it all backbiting? Or is it a chance to have a bit of fun and entertain your friends and the localities at the same time? Amateur dramatic, John Ford coming in later to tell us all about our latest amateur dramatic production happening here in the Bristol area. All that, your weather, your news, your travel, gosh, what more could you want? And it's all free. Oh yes, it really is.
BBC Radio Bristol. Hear the goals first.
Ellis Harrison, take a bow! Johnston has got a late goal here for Bristol City. It's getting easy, 3-0.
Hear your manager first.
Let's go live to Ashton Gate. City head coach Sean O'Driscoll.
I was screaming and shouting at the midfield because I'd cleared all the space and there was a big gap again.
John, you win 3-1 at Rotherham. You can only be proud of your team.
Absolutely, I'm proud of that, everything that's gone about it, the supporters.
Hear all the news about your team first.
His persistence finally paying off this week with not one but two new recruits. I can tell you the 24-year-old will make his debut today.
Getting you closer to your team. BBC Radio Bristol.
Yeah, big weekend of sport coming up as well. Lots of stuff going on at Ashton Gate. And also, later on in the show, I'm going to be talking about a little reported sport of sand yachting. Yes, if you've ever fancied it, forget football, forget rugby. This is the sport for you. Coming up a bit before that, we're going to be talking to John Ford, who's a local amateur dramatic enthusiast. Yes, and if it's something you've fancied, yeah, we'll be speaking to him in a couple of minutes. And you know what? This could be a chance to hit the boards. That's after a bit of Cara Emerald. Quite right, too. Listen, have you dancing around your kitchen, or your lounge, or wherever you are.
I'm really tired of my concrete jungle. 6 days a week is way too much. Living Riviera life.
Cara Emerald, bit of Riviera life. One of those songs you can't help but feeling happy when you hear it. I certainly hope I'm finding you happy, whatever you're up to today. Now, have you ever fancied the idea of treading the boards? And I'm talking about getting involved in theatre, stage, perhaps something we all did at school, you know, the school play, all that kind of, something which sort of disappears off. We don't necessarily carry on. And yet, there are literally hundreds of amateur dramatic societies up and down the country putting on plays and musicals and whatever. And you know what? It's something which you could potentially take part in. John Ford is a local resident and somebody who did that. John, thanks for joining us.
That's all right, Martin. Hello.
Hi. So tell me about your involvement in Amdram.
Oh, gee, it goes back a long way. I don't know. A long time ago, I went into my local pub, and a fella who I kind of knew was a neighbour of mine. As I walked in, he went, "Oh, John, you look like a king." What's your
Well, it
name?
could have been worse, I
Are you
suppose.
being rude? Yeah, for the king what? He said, no, a king. We're looking for a king for the local pantomime. I went, oh, I don't know about that, Jeff. And he said, no, go on, you can do it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I became the king that year. And, I joined my local group, the Timsbury Theatre Group, and not looked back since. Just great fun.
I imagine the first one is the hardest, because that's where you have to sort of bite the bullet and stand up in front of people who probably know you and fear that you're going to look a complete pilchard.
Yeah, well, you do get that initial thing. I haven't been on the stage or done anything since I was at school many, many years ago. So, yeah, it was quite frightening. And they dressed me up in all this gear with a crown on. I thought, what am I doing here?
Sounds great.
I didn't have many words. It was only on for 5 minutes, and I had to say, I can remember that, give me my daughter back or whatever. And that was that, yeah. But I've gone on and done other things. It's just good fun.
So what kind of sort of things do you do? Is it musicals? Is it plays?
No, no, you don't want to hear me singing. No, the group I'm involved with do a pantomime just before Christmas.
Oh, no, they don't.
Oh, yes, they do.
Pantomime's brilliant. Oh, well, that must be the best thing ever to do, actually.
Yeah. No, pantomime's good because you can. It depending on the part you get. And for my sins, I've been a dame, and there's the silly person in it, and you can ad-lib a bit, and I like doing that. You have a bit of fun with the crowd, and there's always someone you know in the audience, and family, and so on, and the heckling, and you learn to deal with it, and it's just great fun to be hard work, but it's good fun.
How do you fit in the rehearsals? Because I imagine that you have to rehearse a lot, because you can't learn the words. You still have to learn the words in the same way that if you were doing it on the West End, surely.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got to learn the words. There are rehearsals. And just remember, I mean, an amateur group is about the social side rather than anything else, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Scandal?
Scandal? No, I wouldn't like to say. We meet on a Tuesday and Thursday night and do the rehearsals and go to the pub after. It's all a bit of fun. But no, you learn the words. I mean, I'd learn them in my own time at home. You take the script to bed and, forfeit the TV every now and again and just learn the words. And I suppose, we've, like you on the TV, Martin, on the radio, you've got to rehearse words. You've got to, know what you're saying. Yes, a lot of them you can make up. But, yeah, you just got to learn them, and there's different techniques to learning them.
So
I've got mine.
Sure. In a nutshell, though, John, why do you do it?
I think it's just something to... And, we've all got this thing in our blood where you have to perform, you have to go and do these things. But I suppose in the cold light of day, it's better than sitting and watching the telly at night. It's nice to go and do things. It's sociable. I've met some really nice people. Some of them become lifelong friends. And it's just a laugh. And the advantage of the group I'm in, it's not like a lot of these, fancy groups in the centre of Bristol or Bath. It's all lovey-dovey. It's just a group of people wishing to have a bit of a good time. Don't take ourselves that seriously. Go for a drink after. Very sociable.
How do I get involved then? How do I find out where my local amateur dramatic group is, and what are the entry criteria?
The entry criteria just got to be ready, willing and able, and be prepared to make a bit of a fool of yourself. And every village, every town has got a local amateur dramatic group. You can look them up in your local parish magazine or in the phone book, or do a bit of googling on the internet these days. You can find anything, can't you? So, it's easy to get involved, and all groups are looking for two things: younger people and men. So you probably tick the boxes, Martin.
I think there's somebody in the theatre there calling you to do your next bit, I think there, John. What is your next role, by the way?
I'm not doing anything until next Christmas now. I'm going to have a bit of a break, to be honest with you, but I'll probably do the pantomime, yeah.
Well, I hope you've...
And as the older and bolder and fatter you get, the more likelihood is you get to do the dame.
Something to strive for. Listen, thank you for inspiring us today, John.
Thank you, Martin.
And I'll come along to your next presentation. Make sure you give us a call and let us know when it's going to be.
Will do.
Bye. John Ford there. Has that inspired you? Come on, you've always wanted to be a pantomime dame, haven't you?
It seemed forever stopped today.
Robbie Williams, Supreme. One of my great regrets, actually, never seeing Robbie Williams in concert. I guess it would have been ideally in his when he was just at that high of Angels and Let Me Entertain You. My wife actually went to see him along with a group of her girlfriends in Cardiff, and she said he was absolutely outstanding. And there was a bit, and I'm not sure if he did this at all his concerts, but there was a bit where he held up a flash. He got everyone in the crowd to hold up a camera, and when he said 1, 2, 3 or something, everyone took a picture with their flash camera at the same time, and the whole of the stadium there in Cardiff just lit up with people firing off their flash guns. And I imagine that was a truly outstanding experience. And my wife certainly came back in love. God damn him. Well, he's a good-looking bloke still, isn't he? Yes, so if you've seen Robbie Williams in your time, maybe that'll take you back. All good stuff.
BBC Radio Bristol.
A bit of weather for you now. Dry with clouds thinning and breaking during the afternoon to give you a decent amount of sunshine and making it feel warmer than of late. A light to moderate southeasterly breeze, perhaps a little gusty across the Mendips. Well, nobody wants a gust across their Mendips, but it sounds like a good day to get the bike out. Yeah, go and get it out the shed. I know it's March. I know it's still cold, but now's the time. Get out the WD-40, sort your bike out. Let's get the kids out into much against their weather, anything like my kids. Drag them away from their PlayStations and away from the DVD. It's springtime. Go and see the it's so exciting. The daffodils are coming out, aren't they? I love this time of year. So now's the time to get your bike out of the garage or wherever it's been stored, dust it down, out with the WD-40, other brands of lubricant are available, and get yourself out. Head up to the window. Be careful on the Mendips, though, because it could be a bit gusty up there. Suitable kind of music. Of course, for this time of year, Mr. Blue Sky, Electric Light Orchestra. If that's me, you want to get on your bike and go and see those blue skies, I don't know what will. A bit of ELO there, Electric Light Orchestra. You're listening to Martin Roberts here on BBC Radio Bristol. Don't forget, if you want to call me, 0845 900 5949 is the number. You can email me, martin.roberts@bbc.co.uk. Or, of course, if you fancy texting, as long as it's safe to do so, of course, text us on 8133, 81333 or treble 3, depending on however you want to pronounce it, 81333, and then you have to start your text with the word Bristol. So text, email, call. Oh yeah, just lovely to hear from you. Just tell me about your day. What are you up to today? You got something exciting? Have you actually discovered a nice little walk that you might want to tell somebody about? Some little event that's happening in and around the gorgeous area that we live in? Give me a call, give me a text, give me an email to let me know. Now, coming up a little bit later on, I'll have a roundup of what's happening the rest of the day here on BBC Radio Bristol. But for now, have you ever wondered what a school governor does? If you've got children yourself, you may well have heard of school governors. You may well have heard of the chairman of the governors. If you're a part of that scene, you'll know that the governors exist, but I wonder how many of us actually know what a school governor does. And you may not be aware that it's something that you could actually become. A chance for you maybe to give something back to the local community and take an active role in the running of your local school. Well, to find out more, earlier on today I spoke to John Ford, who is a local governor, and first of all I asked him, are they actually part of the local council?
Governors are not part of the council. There is a law in the land that says that all schools should be governed by an elected body of...
Do you have any power? I mean, what can you actually do? What can you influence?
The Board of Governors do have power. That we're responsible for recruiting the head teacher and other members of the staff as well.
And firing them as well?
Not necessarily firing them, no, although we could dismiss every single member of staff if we wanted to.
So do you deal with Ofsted and people like that?
Deal with Ofsted, of course, yes, absolutely. For my sins, let's say, I'm responsible.
It is, and it's also quite interesting because it's one that you're not paid for, is it?
No.
There was, however, some interesting debate in the last week or so.
There was, yeah.
Saying, should governors actually receive money? And there was a sort of 6 and 1.5 does another, would it mean that you were more likely to do a good job? Would it mean that you were more influenced? What was your view? Because the person who I was reading about, she felt that school governors shouldn't be paid.
I think I go along with that. Yeah, people become school governors because most people, it's a bit like sitting on the parish council, have got community spirit.
Is there any danger that the chairman of the governments can be bombastic and can influence things with the other people? I mean, do you find that? I mean, is it something which a role, sort of a, former retired colonel could become,
I see where you go, Martin. No, I don't think so. And I think because people do it out of pure community spirit.
So, okay, I like the idea. How do I become a school governor?
You put your hand up.
To who?
To the school. To the school. I mean, how old are your children?
5 and 3.
Right. They go to. Certainly, the oldest one goes to a school. Just started, I guess, last year.
Yep.
Thereabouts. At the primary school that your children are at, assuming they're at a state-run school.
Yep.
If there was a vacancy for a parent governor, you could put your hand up and say, "Yeah, I'd like to have a go at that."
What kind of commitment?
It could be as much as attending a monthly or even a quarterly. 5 quarterly full governing body meetings a year, just 5. Normally in the evening from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, let's say, and that would be the minimum commitment. Otherwise, if you were going to be on a committee to look at finance or personnel or the curriculum or whatever it is, the commitment might be more. It depends on the time that you've got. A lot of people think being a governor is about helping out and painting the walls and sweeping up and so on. It's not about that. It's about being there to hold the head teacher to account, to make sure that head teacher is doing his or her job correctly.
I imagine once you start it as well, you start seeing what's going on, and you want to do more.
Yeah, and depending on your life, most people who become school governors are professional people. That seems to be the way it is. So those professional people, unless they're retired, don't tend to have a huge amount of time on their hands anyway. We're all busy in our working life. But it is nice, if we are busy in our working life, to give back a little. Even if it is those 5 meetings a year, it's not a lot out of your life.
No, well, I know you do a great job.
Thank you.
John, thank you very much. If it's something you fancy having a go at, contact your local council, contact your local school, speak to the headmistress. There's more information on the BBC Local Radio website as well. Definitely something you should do, especially if you've got kids. My wife has just started doing it, and a real chance to give something back. Hands up if you're thinking about that scene in the Full Monty, where they're in that dole queue. Brilliant. Actually, I'm off to see the Full Monty at the theatre this evening. Can't wait. The big question is, do you think they'll do that? Will they actually have any clothes on? I mean, how are they going to do it? I'll tell you next week. I can't imagine they'll be. No, they won't. Will they? Donna Summer. Hot stuff.
Loving life in the West.
BBC Radio Bristol.
Indeed it is. It's now just 2:25. You're listening to Martin Roberts here on BBC Radio Bristol. Oh, what a splendid place it is to be. Coming up later on today, you might be interested. Steve Yabsley from 12 till 2. Actually, that isn't possible, given I've just said it's 2 o'clock. Let's assume it's slightly later. Where Jeff Twentyman, even Elise Rayner. Let's change the time she's going to be broadcasting. Elise Rayner coming up between 2 and 4. Now, interestingly enough, if you were listening earlier on in the show, you heard me talking to John Ford all about his love of amateur dramatics. Well, interestingly enough, Elise Rayner this afternoon is joined by singer-songwriter Sonia Titus and, hold on to your hats, the Bath Operatic and Dramatic Society transport audiences to Titty Ooh, is that right? In a new production of Gilbert and Sullivan's classic comedy operetta, The Mikado at the Theatre Royal. So there you go, an amateur dramatic production of The Mikado at the Theatre Royal. And you can hear all about that in Elise's programme this afternoon. Between 4 and 7, Jeff Twentyman back, and you can join Jeff for all the news that matters to you. Plus, pit your wits against the magic number. And after 6, Liz Ziedler from Happy City Initiative is coming in, and the plan is to brighten up your life. Well, we all need a bit of that. Before that, Barry could do just the job. Barry White. Oh, what a voice. I can do that.